What's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to the new year and welcome to the first video of the year as well. It's been a few weeks since we've traded and made these trade recap videos simply because the volume that we've been seeing in December has been quite low simply due to the fact that volume is low because people are taking off leave for holidays and much more, especially that 20. Here, let's just pull up the calendar and see, right? This week, the last 2 weeks of December were very, very low volume. Additionally, we did not trade this week as well. Why? Because this was really the transition week from normal volume and volatility from the 8th to 12th to low volume and volatility from the 22nd to the 26th. So this 15 through 19 region was really a really a converting region in terms of volume and volatility, and as a result we did not get those expected conditions and preferable conditions to trade. And if there's low volume, lots of noise on order flow, the conditions aren't there for us to take any trades. So essentially ended the year off there pretty early or midway within that week, and we're off for 2.5 weeks now, and we're back today. This week, I hope to get readjusted, but again, think about it. We talked about a converting period from the 15th through the 19th of December, right before the holidays. Now, there may or may not be a converting transferring period after the holidays. And if there is a converting period after the holidays, when do we expect it to be? Of course, we're going to expect it to be from the 5th to the 9th of January. That's simply the week when everyone's returning back from the holidays if they've spent the New Year's somewhere else, if they have not returned already. Thus, there may be some indecent opportunity within this week, but we're on the charts anyways this week. We're on the charts anyways this week simply to build back the good habits and to simply get readjusted to the markets. I mean, it's unlikely we're going to get adjusted to these conditions that we've been seeing here today, simply because they were quite odd, but just getting used to analyzing order flow, analyzing the charts, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, all that, getting back into the groove of things shall be done over this week, and thus we are here. And when I mean that fundamental analysis type deal, I mean like simply looking at events, news events, critical events, like, and seeing if you can make any hypotheses with that. For example, that Venezuela dude was just captured now. What's it called when someone is the dictator? I'm pretty sure it's the dictator of Venezuela or something like that. He got captured by US. He's wearing Nike Tech, all that. It's pretty funny actually. That that can provide fundamental evidence if you use the companies around Venezuela, right? Because now that he's captured, the US might have better ties with with the Venezuelan land, etc. So whatever is happening in Venezuela or what companies are located in Venezuela, perhaps resources or something, they might have an upwards event or a downwards event strictly due to that critical news event of that Venezuelan guy being captured. Now, oil can be an example, and whatever other refineries, materials are in that location are very clear and correlated or causation assets that are affected as a result of the news. And it's important to keep that into consideration as well because although it's institutions that move and drive the markets, when a company is becoming more and more profitable, typically institutions follow that cap mechanism and continue to move up. If an institution sees that the earnings are heavily positive, price typically goes up except for some rare occasions. That being said, everything must be put into proper context because when things are taken out of context, it can affect some, it can lead to uninformed decisions, which none of us really want here. But I mean, let's take a look at today, right? And I mean, today I'm not gonna lie, we had a dentist appointment mid-session around 9:20, 9:30, so we had to go off from that point onwards. Additionally, from the points that we were on from around 8:40, 8:50 to 9:30-ish, there was a lot of noise on order flow and nothing really that I saw that was really critical in terms of price movement. Additionally, when we simply look at the sheer volume that we had this like so far, we do see that there is volume. Then again, it's nothing crazy, like we're decreasing in volume pretty quickly. So there's that. I mean, this type could be potentially comparable to that of the summer, but I mean, it all has to be put into context once again. So taking that with a grain of salt, essentially, this is what we saw on the higher time frame, right? I barely have any markings on the chart, right? I'm purely using order flow at this point, right? Of course, you can mark out zones with our eyes like such, right? But they're not really going to make an impact into that key idea or key hypothesis that we have going on. So, what do we see happening? We have volume at this top, right? And we see that as a trend in multiple areas of structure. Recently, right there, we see volume near the top around that same region. That's really insignificant as it's such a short time period in insignificant volume within that holiday season. Now coming here, it's still within the holiday season, but we start to see that volume get really shown in that upper region, and we can make a hypothesis that there's heavy volume there simply due to the fact of how much structure and tops and bottoms there are there. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7, no pun intended, over there. But instead of relying on that, let's confirm it using the volume profile and let's head on to this low within that structure. And what we see is that it's clear that within this region, which this lower volume node quite literally aligns with this liquidity level, providing extra confirmation for that, we simply see that the upper volume really dies off after this region. Now, we've had some time at these regions for volume to potentially develop, but we don't see it as anything significant. We see that volume is primarily in this region, so if price breaks out of it, there may be a high chance that we're going to continue higher. Now, let's keep moving this back. And what we see is that it still maintains that relative trend, right? With this volume being a clear chunk. And now the drop off is even more critical, right? We see a big drop off starting right from there-ish, right? And if you go right to that low volume region, it's literally gonna be right there. Let's just mark it black and hold on. Mark it black, mark it as a line and bold it a little bit. You see this dark black bolded line to be that region where if we break above, we are expecting continuation towards the upside. Now let's simply move it before and see how it's like there. You see how that drop off isn't as significant. It's much more of a low standing thing. Now let's move it over here. Now you see that there's not even that big of a drop off. We are provided that opportunity as time is progressing, right? Now there's a bit of a drop off, but we see it's a slow arch kind of. And potentially if we break out of that slow arch, we might head higher. But here we simply saw that we faked out. Now coming into this region, we do see that there is a decent drop off that we're seeing. And now, hold on. There. We do see that there's a decent drop off, but we see that downward slope from there to that black line that we marked out. And at that black line that we marked out, we do go ahead and see that price does have a pretty good imbalance towards the upside, right? You can literally clearly see that right here on the 24th, right before Christmas. Clear imbalance towards the upside, breaking these highs. Now, we come back to the present day, moving this around here where we're going to be around 6 to 8. We see an even more strong, an even stronger drop off, right? There's not much of a slope at this point, right? We see a drop off there and pretty much a plateaued area. Now, break above this black line. I expect to see price at least take out these highs, potentially even take out these upper highs, simply because of the clear edge that this volume profile has given and clear opportunity. Now, who knows, we may be wrong, but today, as you can see, we've broken out. And hold on, let me just go here. Right as market opened, we're below that line, but we broke out of it and we continued to head up. Now, we broke out of this region and we pushed up. On a higher time frame, it looked like we were going to continue to this region up here. So with the analysis that we put into play, a really good swing trade could have been made. And I mean, yeah, but that's essentially the driving factor of everything, right? We saw insane longs start to come in. We hopped on the charts at 845, 850-ish, right? So right around here. What did we do at that point? We broke at that region. But then quickly we ended up here. And I did not take this trade. Let me emphasize that. I took this on paper. I took this on paper, and I should have the text marked out. I don't, but I'll explain the reasoning to you guys soon. But my main focus is to simply replay what happened at certain significant points, preferably this region. Maybe there's an opportunity between there. But I'm really just looking for these retracements to see if there's anything that really stands out. But as you can see, this higher time frame manner of thinking did happen to provide at least a decent move to that initial upside. Alright, hold on. We get it. Bruh, okay, here. So let's go ahead and see the 840 action. And as you can see right now on the Bookmap chart, shout out live Alex Think with Bookmap, linked in the description. We see that this 6985 level, 6951 level is a liquidity level up top, but then again, it's not really significant at all, right? Everything's around 90 to 100, right? Loss of nothing significant on order flow for us to make an educated hypothesis off of. And as you see, as we continue, just to look at the sheer amount of noise that we're seeing, right? Everything is pretty much the same. We do have this 6943 region, which potentially, if we see absorption around that level, longs could be viable. So I want to see if that happens, right? That being said, just taking a look at this big block of liquidity there, it's honestly non-favorable to take the longs like that. And even if we saw big sellers come in here, I don't know if it's really the best decision. And yeah, I mean, look at this right here. 1,000 sellers coming in there right at 940, and we do happen to break out of it, it seems, right? Could be a spoofed order if those orders disappear. But looking at aggressive buyers on my footprint chart, it looks like we break through it. Again, look at what's happening here, right? Big selling delta here, but sellers are continuing to are struggling to imbalance towards the downside. Let's see what happens here. Is it spoofed? No, it's not spoofed. We break out of it. Okay. Now, there may be an opportunity here, and assuming we don't get such late of an entry, right? We see it happen in 2 seconds. 51.25. Potentially there's an entry here. Why? Well, we've put in big selling delta towards the downside with aggressive player. It's not just delta, it's aggressive player as well. Then we broke through this aggressive seller with the actual buying. And all these sellers are absorbed down there, right? So if we go long here, there is a decent spread from there to perhaps I'm gonna say 6-0 simply because that looks to be a liquidity level up top and these are pretty stable. So I'm gonna say 5960. So assuming that's something we would take, right? Enter at 51.25. Let's see how that would work. 51.25. 51.25. There we go. Stop loss, where would we keep our stop? I mean, there's really two areas. We can keep it below this absorption region, but better yet, this 6946 region has some liquidity on it, so we'll probably place it around 6945.75. 6945.75. So our stop loss is 22 ticks, and we're targeting 60, so 59.5. And I mean, take a look at that. Really quick trade it would have played out. Very discretionary. A lot of discretion must be put under this to actually execute on this, but a 1.5 risk to reward ratio would have played out with low drawdown as well. Let's see how fast this would have played out. I mean, let's take a look. Let's pretty quickly, very quickly actually. Just very aggressive buying, and 2K buying delta is extremely significant. And I mean, we continue heading towards the upside. Now, if you take a look, we continue heading towards the upside, but let's see what happened here from 910 to we were trying to trade in this type of liquidity. That's simply all I'm gonna put, right? We're trying to see if the longs would continue, right? Why? Well, let's take a look at what happened near the top. We saw a really big seller come in near the bottom, and price moved up. That's that's as simple as I can put it. That's all I saw, right? We saw big sellers get trapped at the bottom, prices heading upwards. Now we getting close to this liquidity, but that 7-6 region is nothing. That's like 5 ticks, and it would have gotten taken out. So if we took this, it would have made sense. But we targeted up here just to see if it would play out, right? And again, I'm emphasizing that this one is a paper trade. We didn't take it simply because of the conditions. Nothing is really significant except for this upper target. So it's highly likely that this is going to get taken out, but we don't know if it's going to go higher than that or lower. As you can see, it does get taken out. Right after it gets taken out, we start moving towards the downside. Now, here's when I had my dentist appointment, but I mean, looking at where it's sitting at right now, potential shorts could play a role here. Liquidity is moving down with price, and this is going too. And this is staying stagnant, so I'm expecting the 6965 region to get broken. That being said, I do want to see any sort of significance trap buyers before we enter or buyer absorption. Do you see something like that there in that 35 candle? Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I mean, liquidity is starting to, the spread between liquidity is starting to get a bit clustered again. Not looking to trade within that, I'm being honest. See if there's anything at 45. 45 in there. I mean, not really anything there. We flush down below, and then after that seems to be a good amount of noise. Let's see. Seems to be a decent amount of noise. I mean, we're not putting this under major discretion like we've kept under the other ones, simply because of the sheer amount of noise. There isn't that big of a spread that we can capitalize off of, and thus it's unlikely that we can take anything. That being said, around 10:20, it is starting to clear up to a decent extent, potentially providing good conditions. So I mean, in all things being said, on live, it's highly unlikely we would have taken this trade. Potentially would have taken this trade under good conditions, and potentially it would have worked out. given that we taken this, but again, I'm saying this like a 50% chance we would have actually taken it simply because of the conditions. But there was a decent spread there and decent opportunity. Potentially we could have taken it, but yeah, I mean, that's basically the recap of today and analysis for today. That being said, I'm looking to upload every single day this year. I'm looking to upload 365 videos this year. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be the challenge. And we're going to look to push through it as long as we can. So, with that being said, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below or join the completely free Discord server. The link is in the description down below. If you want to check out any of the order flow tools which I use, those will be linked as well, including Addis, one of our channel partners. Um, a lot of the it has a lot of free functionality, and highly recommend you check it out. You can literally start order flow and see how it works within your strategy using backtests without live data right now. But with all this being said, as always, do your own research, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's all I have for today. Thank you.